Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Mark. This is the weekly Purple Penny coin video. I own and run the Purple Penny along with my wife Catherine. The Purple Penny being a small family-owned coin and banknote dealer in the northern suburbs of Adelaide. We've been here for over 4 years now. We've been doing these videos for well over 3 years. We try to do them around about this time every Monday. And we tend to just cover off on all the latest coin and banknote news from Australia and around the world, and when possible we'll do a bit of a show and tell on stuff that's been coming into the shop, and hopefully every now and again share some information that is useful to coin collectors, both new and experienced. So let's get started this week by saying a few hellos to people. Sorry, excuse my amused little grin here. I was busy doing something else and completely forgot, so it was all a bit of a rush to get things happening this morning. Hello Paul, Patrick, John, Cam, Greg, Adam, Gwen, Mary, Andrew, Mike, Nelson. Sorry, let's just move. Hello Ray, David, Daryl, and Jane. Hello everyone, thank you for joining in this morning. Gosh, what a hectic week we had last week. Lots of buying last week, lots of interesting stuff coming in. Well, yeah, kind of interesting. I guess there was a little bit of a mix of different stuff. We bought some interesting gold sets from China, actual real coins from China. Lots of mint product coming in. There was just a whole lot of stuff coming in on Wednesday and Thursday. Saturday was a little bit quieter with the odd bit of a rush. I bought some interesting fakes last week, which I'm going to share with you. Given that a couple of weeks ago we had a whole video on fakes, I thought I'd just share some fakes that came in last week. And of course this week there is a coin release from Australia Post and the Royal Australian Mint. You probably saw some media late last week and over the weekend about the coin release that's happening this week. So the other big thing that's happened is that we're only less than 5 weeks away from the Adelaide Coin and Banknote Expo. So the marketing for that has picked up, and I will just ask everyone, if you are here in Adelaide, please come in and grab a flyer about the expo off of our counter, or grab a handful of flyers and please post those up wherever you can. Pin them to the wall at your local Barnacle Bills, like we've done, and because we want to get as many people there as we can. So you may or may not start seeing some advertising pop up on your social media about this in the next few weeks. I guess the big news is, of course, is that the Royal Australian Mint is attending. I don't know what they're going to bring. They're not responding to my emails at the moment. The other news is there is going to be a limited release PNC at the show. It's AFL themed, Port Adelaide and Adelaide Crows. It's not a overprinted official Australia Post PNC. It is I guess it's made especially for the show, so it's not an official release. I do believe they tried to get some sort of official release up and running, but there was not enough time and too many intellectual property issues around that. Very low numbers for those PNCs, and if you're not at the show, you would want to contact dealers that are going to attend the show. If you want to know who's attending the show, go and follow the Expo Facebook page, and there's a dealer list there. And certainly on the day they're going to be hard to get as well, because we only got a very tiny number. We won't be selling them on the day. It's just not worth the hassle. So if you are into those sorts of things, do reach out to as many dealers as you can and see if you can source some. Hello Patrick and Peter and Ivan. Hello, thank you for joining us today. Right, so we'll just jump into the news here. So we do have the RAM release coming up on Thursday. We've got the Christmas coin this year, which I believe is the 4th year they've done the Christmas coin. Same coin in 5 different coloured cards, Christmas decoration shaped cards. Those are $12.50 each. And then we've got a coloured $5 coin, which is the World Heritage coloured $5 coin, and that's the coin that got the media on the weekend. Certainly had a lot of phone calls and messages about that over the last few days. There will be a small number available for purchase over the counter here on Thursday. No holds, no phone orders, and we won't be mailing any out. So if you are able to come in here on Thursday and jump on the line, you should be able to grab one of those. Australia Post has jumped on the coin release bandwagon. I think this might be certainly their second coin release this year, perhaps their third coin release this year. I will just say I'm a little bit worried about the stuff that Australia Post is putting out, that they don't push out as many coins as they do stamps. Anyway, it's the big thing, so it's a 10 times by dollar coin tube, and a collector folder. I believe you can buy the collector folders by themselves, and you can buy the coins by themselves in cards. Cost is $29 for the aluminium bronze coin tube. 1 in 10 of the tubes has a coloured coin in it, and by big things I mean big lobsters and big Murray cod and big pineapples and all that sort of thing. Where there is also an aluminium bronze proof set for $145 and a silver proof set for $495. As usual, we'll have some of these sets in the shop when they get here. Australia Post very rarely manages to get them here on time, so we're not sure when they're coming. And as usual, we're taking names for them. And if we have taken your name, we would appreciate it if you came in here and picked it up from us, because we don't make anything out of these things, and we're still stuck with a whole pile of the AFL tubes and folders that people left with us that they got from Australia Post because they couldn't wait 3 days or whatever for them to appear here. So if you have put your name down, please do come in and pick them up. We will message you once the product is here in the shop. Now, there will be a lineup here on Thursday for the mint release, no doubt, and I will, if the line is big, I will go out there and just let people know if they're going to be able to get their hands on stuff. We will email everyone who's expressed interest that we're not going to be able to allocate anything to, probably tomorrow, so that you can make preparations to get things elsewhere. I do apologise in advance to those of you who haven't been able to allocate anything to, but we only get limited numbers of this sort of stuff. Now, there was a interesting bit of news that popped up this week about a young man, I believe he's 8 or 7, I can't remember, in Bremen in Germany, who was playing in the sandpit at school, and he found a Roman coin in the sandpit at school. How cool is that, finding a Roman coin in the sandpit? I think all you find here in Australia is cat poo in your sandpit. But he found a silver denarius of the Emperor Marcus Aurelius in the sandpit. He found it in the sandpit at school and brought it home, and his parents, when they saw it, took it to a museum. Bremen has similar treasure laws to the UK, and of course it was taken by the museum, and the young man who found it was given some books in return for it. Now, there's a couple of interesting things about this. Marcus Aurelius is, of course, the character played by Richard Harris in the Gladiator movie. He is well known as a supposedly a just Roman emperor. And the other interesting thing about it is that Bremen is east of the River Rhine, and the sort of de facto border between the Roman Empire and the barbarian parts of Germany was the Rhine. So Bremen wasn't actually ever part of the Roman Empire, and it just shows you that trade was conducted across the border regardless of who was in charge on which side of the border, and this coin made it across the border to Bremen, where it has remained buried until just recently, and it was dug up in a sandpit. So quite a remarkable coin there, quite a remarkable find. Also, coins in the news this week, the military academy. Adam says, how deep would the sandpit? I don't know. Adam, I doubt whether the... that's a good question, actually. I doubt whether the coin... Well, I wonder whether the coin was in situ, so it was actually originally there, or whether it was in the sand that was delivered to that spot. It's an interesting question, Adam. It wasn't really clear in the article what the case was. If it was in situ, then it couldn't have been too deep. If it was delivered in the sand, then it could have been very deep, if it was mined from a sand quarry or something like that. Right, next coin item was at the West Point Military Academy in the USA, West Point being the Army Military Academy. It's a very old institution. I believe it's been in operation since the early 1800s. And they have a statue there of a military leader called Tadeusz Kosciuszko. It should be a familiar name to people here in Australia. And they were renovating the statue, and then under the marble tablet at the bottom of the statue they actually found a brass box. It was a time capsule. Time capsules are, of course, boxes of items or tubes of items that are buried to be dug up at a later date, and the capsule was actually opened live on a live video stream in part of the academy there, and it was viewed by military students that were at the academy. Unfortunately, the box was just to be found full of silt, which was a bit of an anticlimax, but later the silt was looked through and they actually found some coins and some medallions in there. And up the image there you can see an 1800 silver dollar. There was also an 1818 25 cent, an 1827 10 cent, 1795 5 cent, and an 1827 1 cent. Plus also there was a commemorative medallion. So really interesting coin related story there about a time capsule that was opened up at the West Point Military Academy in the USA. Now you probably know that I don't like the fact that that Australia is going cashless. I don't like it for a number of reasons. The primary one is that financial institutions, namely the banks and the credit card companies, they have basically inserted themselves into these electronic transactions, and they skim off a small amount every time, which, well, good luck to them if they can get away with it, but us as consumers, we don't have to allow it. We can continue to buy things with cash. So I just found a couple of contrarian stories this week about Germany and Switzerland and Europe who are pushing to keep cash. Apparently in Germany 60% of transactions are still cash compared to their neighbour of the Netherlands, which is just 11%, and Sweden, which is not too far away, which has virtually gone cashless. And in Germany a lot of businesses still only accept cash, and the German people, culturally at least, have a deep sense of privacy and a mistrust of technical companies and financial technical companies. And they have a sort of a cultural fear of financial crises and the problems with cash that financial crises often have. And the other thing about Germans is apparently they don't like debt, which is a bit odd, so they prefer not to use credit cards. And they have a saying there, which is "Nur bares ist wahres," only cash is true. So Germans generally believe that cash is the only real money and that credit isn't real money. And if you look back at German history in the last 100 years, there's been a couple of big events that probably contribute a lot to their love of cash. One is the hyperinflation period in the Weimar Republic. The Weimar Republic being one of the governments between World War I and World War II, where inflation got out of control and banks collapsed and cash became worthless. And the other is that at the end of World War II, when they were paying quite just reparations, the German economy was basically destroyed, cash was devalued, credit was hard to get, so as such Germans still prefer cash. Now in a neighbouring country of Switzerland, the government there is putting a proposal to the people to actually add the acceptance of cash to the Swiss constitution. Similar to here in Australia, companies don't have to take cash, but Switzerland is looking to change their constitution that forces companies to accept cash. And at the moment they still have quite a high cash usage in Switzerland of over 45%, And the people that still use cash are similar here in Australia. They tend to be lower income people and people over the age of 55. It has been proven many times that it is easier to keep track of your spending if you spend with cash versus card. And just some interesting facts about Switzerland. They have notes ranging from 1,000 francs, which is a heck of a lot of money. That's about $1,750, down to 5 centimes, which is only about 7.5 cents. And their 5 franc coin, and if you ever here in the shop asked to have a look at a 5 franc coin, it's a big copper nickel coin. It's probably one of the highest face value coins still traded in the world. It's got a face value of $8.75. You can imagine carting around a $10 coin in your pocket here in Australia. So that's Germany and Switzerland and their use of cash. Now, this week we had in 3 different purchases, we had fake coins come into the shop. Now, none of the people that brought in the collections that had the fakes in it were actually disappointed that they were fakes. I think they were probably aware that they were fakes. But it's always interesting to see fakes come in here and to be able to use, I guess, our expertise to be able to pick fakes. Now, we've got a bit of an advantage here. We can always test the metal of a coin with our XRF gun, which is our precious metals testing device, and confirm that a coin is a fake. But I certainly at least prefer to use my the grey matter up here to pick a fake before we resort to technology. So just lean over here and grab these fakes. So we had 3 fakes come in, and you can see them here. So this one's a fake 1938 crown, and a fake Morgan dollar there, and a fake 1967 Swan. Sorry, that light's a bit bright there. A fake 1967 Swan pattern dollar. So I thought I would share some pictures of those with you, and just explain what it is that I saw when they came in over the counter. So the first one that I'll share with you is a Morgan dollar fake, and this was the easiest one to pick. Now, it is supposed to be an 1888S Morgan dollar. 1888S Morgan dollar is sort of a slightly better date Morgan dollar, but it's not a key date by any means. And the dead giveaway with this one is the toning. If you see enough of these replica coins, many of them use the same sort of artificial aging agent on them. It's some sort of dark stuff that they must apply to the coin and then rub it off with a rag, and they all tend to have exactly the same look. So if you see a coin with that sort of dull grey toning that's wiped off in the middle, then don't walk away from that coin, run away. Now, because it is a less important date, it wouldn't immediately leap out to some coin dealers that it was a fake, but I view all Morgan dollars with deep suspicion, and this is one of those that was obviously a fake. Peter Andrews here, who is commenting, is a Morgan dollar expert, or as close as we're going to get here in Australia, and he says that the obverse rim is badly wrong. Look, Peter, with things like this, I don't even bother looking at the details. It was obviously a fake, staring at it from 3 or 4 feet away. And Jared, who we are trying to get to look at more collections over the counter, he picked this as a fake immediately as well. It just looks wrong. And if you see enough coins, coins like this or fakes like this will seem obviously wrong to you too. Now, the next one, which might have caught the new collector, was a fake 1967 Swan pattern dollar. So these were silver crowns that were created by the Australian Coin Review magazine in 1967 as part of a competition. They were designed by Andor Mazaros. And these are one of the most fake things that you will see here in Australia. What was obviously wrong about this was the complete lack of detail on the design. So the wattle blossoms on the reverse were just round globes rather than having any texture. and or Mazaros's initials on the reverse of the coin weren't his initials, they were someone else's initials. The silvery appearance of the coin appeared completely wrong. Again, it's one of those things that when you look at enough silver coins, you get to recognise what is real luster and what isn't. And the other thing that sort of gave it away for me immediately is that the whole thing's covered in die cracks, great big die cracks and die breaks. I've never seen a real swan pattern dollar with die cracks or die breaks, so again, this was one that I didn't really need to test. I knew this one was a fake straight away. Now, I will just mention something quickly about silver coins. If you are sort of interested in buying silver coins, there is a test called the ring test. And the ring test is where you actually take the coin and spin it on a hard surface, and the tone that a real silver coin makes is quite different to the tone that a non-silver coin makes. And if you're not exactly sure what I mean, go and grab yourself a real 1937 crown and a 20-cent piece and spin both of them on a hard surface, and you'll notice that the noise is quite different. Usually silver has a much higher pitched tone to it, and a quick ring of the Morgan dollar and this goose both proved fairly quickly that they were not silver. So the last one here that I wanted to share with you today is a 1938 crown. We have a rule in this shop: if it's a key date, assume that it is fake until you can prove that it isn't. Now, this is one of those coins that I couldn't really explain how I knew that this was a fake. It just looked wrong. We handle a lot of 1937 and 38 crowns. 38 crowns, you know, a couple of months. 37 crowns, a couple of dozen a month. So when you look at the same coin many times, when you see a fake one, it tends to stand out. This one, the strike is very weak around the top left of the obverse legends, and similarly around the top right of the reverse. It is quite weak through the centre as well, but that's not necessarily a definitive telltale, because 1938 crowns often are quite weakly struck. It just looked wrong, and it didn't look like silver either, and the quick ring test on this one proved that it wasn't silver either, so it's made of zinc and some other garbage. So another really interesting fake, and this is probably the most dangerous one. The first two fakes I showed you were fairly obvious. This one, you know, if you were to inherit a collection or buy a collection, this one could be slipped into a page with a bunch of other real coins, and if you're not experienced enough, it could just slip past without you realising it was a fake. And instead of being worth $150 or $200, it's worth nothing. So this is the most dangerous fake to me. This is really made to deceive, this one, and just shows you that if you are going to buy key date coins, then you either A, need to really know what you're talking about or what you're doing, or buy them off of someone who does, or buy them in a PCGS or NGC slab, of course after you check the certificate numbers on those slabs to make sure that they're real slabs as well. So there's some fakes that we bought last week. I do enjoy buying fakes. It's probably one of the most enjoyable things that I do in here is buying fakes, because I see each one as a learning exercise. And if you are getting into collecting pre-decimal coins or ancient coins and things like that, looking out for fakes can be a fun thing to do. Right, we'll just have a look at some comments. I did have another slide today, but we might save that for next week. Let's see if we've got any questions here that need asking. Kristala, hello, how are you? And Carolyn, how are you? And Sammy and Michelle, thank you everyone for saying hello and taking part today. If you want to have a look at some fakes, feel free to come in here and we'll show you some. And if you want to hear what the ring test is, then we're quite happy to do that with you here on the counter. Peter has suggested ringing try a pre and post florin. They do sound a little bit different, but they still sound distinctly different to a 20-cent piece. It is a great test to ring a florin and then ring a 20-cent piece, because they're the same size and the same weight but made out of very different materials, and they do sound quite different. The ring test isn't infallible though, because silver, I've found in my experience that silver plated copper sounds not dissimilar to silver, so it's not an infallible test. What we do to finally authenticate a fake here in the shop is the weight and then the XRF, and if that doesn't decide it for us, then we go and compare die markers, and I'm quite happy to admit that we're not experts on every coin series, and there are some coins that we can't identify conclusively at the front counter, and if you do bring a coin in here, sometimes we'll offer to take a photo of it and then authenticate it later off of a photo once we can see it at the computer. Right, that's it for this week. Good luck with the RAM release this Thursday. As I said, we will have a few available for purchase over the counter here if you're going to come and get in line. And if you are keen to get hold of the Heritage $5 coin, do reach out to authorised RAM dealers. I believe the Mint will have their call centre operating, and the retail store in Canberra. Of course, Australia Post is always an option, and I think News Express is the other option that the Royal Australia Mint provides. Plus, of course, they also have their authorised dealer list on their website. So good luck, everyone. I hope you get what you're after. And remember, it's just a hobby. If you miss out, it's not the end of the world, and don't overpay or go chasing things up at auction on the day of release, because prices tend to settle back after time. Right, bye for now, everyone. Have a great week. Stay safe, stay happy, and we'll be back next week. Bye for now.